I don't know if Nick Saban was giving him swirlies and wedgies back in the day, but there's something going on. There is something carrying over from high school, college, or something that Nick Saban did to this man, because Jimbo does not like him whatsoever. October 8th, 2022. Clear your schedule. Why is that? Because that's when Alabama and Texas A&M play each other. I'm going to tell you right now, unless something crazy happens, I'm going to be streaming that A&M versus Alabama game on October 8th. So come by the channel and get ready for streams next year. Here's what a lot of people aren't understanding. There's not just bad blood between Nick Saban and Jimbo Fisher. There is now bad blood between the players and the fans. I can't speak for the Big Ten. I can't speak for the Pac-12 or really even the Big 12 because I'm not from that area. I'm from the SEC. One thing I've learned over my many years of being within the fan base of college football in the Southeast is that these fans will ride or die with their teams. I dare you to go up to a Tennessee, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi State fan, Ole Miss fan, any fan in the SEC and say, oh, it's just a game, it doesn't matter. Football, and I mean more importantly, college football in the South, they eat, breathe, and sleep it. These fans are so highly invested into their teams, I've seen circumstances where if their team loses on Saturday, a person doesn't even show up to work the next week. Some of you may think it's crazy, but I mean this 100%. Being a fan of one of these teams, it's almost a lifestyle. I've always heard people say, why do fans revert to we whenever their team loses? It's not like they're actually playing for the team and putting on the pads. And I get that. As college football fans, are we going out there and practicing, doing the workouts and etc.? No. We're not doing all the dirty work, but however, I think we can all agree and we're in the same boat. We're a part of the team. I used to not think about it this way, but I'm starting to believe that fans, they have a major role in their teams. Is it the determining factor in why games are won and lost? I wouldn't go that far, but you get where I'm going. Just like in any sport, everybody has a role. The head coach has a role, the quarterback has a role, the defensive lineman has a role, the assistants have a role, and I also think the fans have a role. Earlier in the first video today, we talked about everything going on, and we mainly focused on the Deion Sanders situation and talked about Jimbo a little bit. In this video, we're going to solely talk about Jimbo and what's going on. Also want to give a major shout out and just a major thanks to you guys. I have a ton of gratitude towards y'all. I said let's see if we can get that video to 400 likes in an hour, and you guys crushed it. I really appreciate you guys' support, but I gotta be honest, I think this video, it's 4 times more interesting. I didn't think the Deion Sanders and Nick Saban thing, it was all too bad. They weren't saying nothing crazy. But what Jimbo Fisher is saying about Nick Saban, it's utterly ridiculous, and I don't respect it. This man, Jimbo Fisher, is throwing personal shots at Saban. It's not even football talk anymore. I talked all about it in the last video. If you want to see that, it's 19 minutes long. You can go watch it to hear my full opinion and take on everything. Although I love Nick Saban, although I'm an Alabama fan, I didn't like what he said, and I thought it was a bad look. I thought it was a low blow to say what he said about Jackson State, Travis Hunter, Deion Sanders, and I also didn't like what he said about A&M. The A&M one didn't bother me as much. It was more about the Jackson State one. I felt like he could have kept that to himself. I was honestly shocked he said either of the things he did. Because Saban's not really a guy to complain. If there's ever a rule change or something going on, he's more of a problem fixer. He doesn't complain about stuff. He just sees how he can make things better. And I don't think he was all complaining too much. He was just giving his opinion, but it came off in a bad way. I love Nick Saban and I love Alabama football. But with that being said, that doesn't mean you can do something wrong and I'm still going to take your side. That's not how I operate, and that's not how I go about things in my life. I'm not a yes man. If my brother's acting up, if my friends, they're making terrible life choices, I'm going to call them out. And it's not because I'm hating on them. I just want to see them do better. You don't want to surround yourself with people who just go with everything you say and they're yes men, because they'll never correct you and call you out when you're wrong. This is one of the few, and I mean very few times, that I feel like Nick Saban, he's in the wrong and he shouldn't have said those things. He's recently came out and admitted that actually an hour ago, and we'll talk about that in just a second. One thing I've learned in life the older I got is that me, you, everybody out there watching this, we're going to make many mistakes. Nobody intends on making mistakes, it just kind of happens, but here's where the great people in life can separate themselves from the average. As you continue to get older, you try to limit those mistakes and try to make them not as common. And you may be good at it, you may be one of the best out there, but you're still going to slip up from time to time. Nobody's perfect. I think that's what happened with Nick Saban. Think about this. How many interviews has he done in his career? Probably over what? 2,000? If you're doing as many interviews as he's doing, you're bound to mess up and just say something like he said last night. It don't mean he doesn't like Deion Sanders. It don't mean he's got bad blood towards Texas A&M. Sometimes when you're talking, you just say stuff you don't even think about. And then too, I'm victim of this. Sometimes I say something, I think it sounds good, then I post it on YouTube and I rewatch it and I realize, dang, I didn't say that the right way and it came out wrong. I say all that to say this. Alabama fans, it's okay to admit that your leader, and I know you love Nick Saban, you walk and worship the grounds he walked on, he messed up. He stated he meant what he said, but he shouldn't have said it the way he said it. But ladies and gentlemen, here's where things start to heat up fast, because Jimbo Fisher, the head coach at Texas A&M, he came out with his own statements today about Nick Saban. And I'm not gonna lie, it got me heated. The things he said about Nick Saban, it was straight up beyond disrespectful. He called him a narcissist, and he says he's doing dirty stuff behind the scenes, and he also thinks he's a god. And that was just some of it. There was much more to it, and like I said, when I was watching it, it didn't really make me mad as an Alabama fan, but here's what it did do. I always thought there was tension between Nick Saban and Jimbo Fisher, but I never really had what's the word I'm looking for? I never really had evidence to go with those claims. There was nothing you could point to and say, oh, well, that's why they got beef, because 2 or 3 years ago this happened. But now I do have evidence, and now it's all starting to make sense, and this is beyond football. This is personal. That's why all of this is so fascinating to me, and I think you guys, because we're starting to realize this is personal beef. This isn't just some, oh, my team's better than you, your team sucks. When you start making personal attacks at Nick Saban, it's much more than that. Remember how I was telling you these Alabama players, they'll ride and die for the coaches? Check this out. I'm just going to pull up a couple tweets. Here's what a current Alabama player said. All y'all's coaches cap, we know what it really is. Then that same person, Kyrie Jackson, he tweeted out Alabama versus the world. And then the remarks came out, and former Alabama linebacker, star linebacker Reggie Ragland said, I want to strap up right now. And he tagged a bunch of former Alabama players, and last but not least, I'll read off this one. Former Alabama left tackle said, please watch him out, we slide about Nick Saban. There's a bunch more, but those are just a few I decided to pick out. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a lot, and I mean a lot to talk about and go over. Get you a snack, get you some popcorn. It's going to be a semi-long video, and also real quick, we're on the road to 200K, so if you want to help us out, hit that subscribe button. If not, that's cool too. And now, without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, I'm sure some of you saw this, but there's also a lot of people that haven't. The quote that started everything is this right here. Nick Saban was doing an interview in Birmingham, Alabama, where he said, we were second in recruiting last year. A&M was first. A&M bought every player on their team, made a deal for name, image, and likeness. We didn't buy one player. But I don't know if we're going to be able to sustain that in the future because more and more people are doing it. Whenever you have the power and influence that Saban has, it doesn't take too long for stuff like that and controversial stuff like that to get out there. Me personally, I don't think that one's that bad. Like I've stated multiple times, I think the Deion Sanders one in the Jackson State, that was more of a low blow. I think what Nick Saban said about A&M, there's nothing wrong with it and it's facts. Should he have said it? Probably not, but I gave a great example earlier on in today's video. It'd be the equivalent to me and you thinking a girl's pretty, but we find out she slept with 50 dudes within the past year. And then I go up to you and say, yeah, that girl's kind of trashy. It's not really me bashing her, it's just facts. Should I have said it? Probably not, but it's not like I'm making something up. It's also the equivalent to if there's a 600-pound man in front of me and I point at him and go, hey, he's fat. Yeah, I shouldn't point at him and call him fat, but am I lying? That's pretty much what's going on to dumb it down and correlate it to our everyday lives. From 2018 through 2021, A&M only got 5 5-star recruits, but in 1 year in 2022, they got 7. Make it make sense. Oh, that's right. You can't make it make sense because it doesn't. There's something fishy going on. Once again, let me repeat this. I'm not saying Jimbo Fisher and A&M, they're breaking the rules. All I'm saying is something fishy's going on up there. But Alabama fans, don't be so naive about this, because if you think Nick Saban and Alabama, the boosters, whoever, hasn't been paying these guys and giving them brand new cars the past 10 years, you're out of your mind. I showed pictures of it in the last video. I'll throw them up again. There was a time where 5 or 6 defensive players in 2015 through 16, they got brand new whips. And I'm not talking about $20,000 cars. I'm talking about $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 cars. Eddie Jackson, a safety at Alabama, he got a BMW i8 that was over $110,000. So yeah, it's definitely fishy what's going on with A&M and every school in the country. The reason it stands out more at A&M, at least in my opinion, is because they haven't been this great team that wins national championships, so why would any kid want to go there? All of this she said, he said, oh, we paid them, they didn't pay them, blah, 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 blah. It's the same thing with the tampering. Everyone's blaming Lincoln Riley for tampering when in reality, every school tampers. So if you're one of those fans that wants to cry about A&M getting the #1 recruiting class, your school's probably illegally recruiting too. Let's get a move on though. Only a few hours ago, your boy Jimbo Fisher, come on now, you know he was going to speak his mind about this. And what he says, and I mean this 100%, it was disgusting. To say those things about not just Nick Saban, but if he would have said that about any coach, I think it's ridiculous. Maybe that's just me. I don't know. Matt wrote a clip.
It's despicable that a reputable head coach could come out and say this when he doesn't get his way or things don't go his way. The narcissist in him doesn't allow those things to happen, and it's ridiculous. But when he's not on top.
I'm going to stop it right there. Jimbo Fisher, a narcissist? Are you kidding me? Somebody needs to show this man what a narcissist looks like, because Nick Saban doesn't even come close to that. And I gotta be blunt about it. If you think Saban is even close to being a narcissist, you don't even have a brain cell. Let me break that down for some of you. A narcissist is somebody who thinks they're the best thing ever. They literally can't stop talking about themselves and they think they're a Greek god. I'll take it a step even farther, and I'm having trouble to try to find words to say on this. I don't even think Nick Saban has a ego or a big ego whatsoever. When is the last time, or if ever, I'm trying to think about it, I can't even think of a circumstance where Nick Saban has bragged about how great of a coach he is, or just bragged in general. That's what a narcissist is, somebody who's always bragging. Let's get a move on though to another outlandish statement that Jimbo said.
Some people think they're God. Go dig into how God did his deal. You may find out about a guy that a lot of things you don't want to know. We built him up to be the czar of football. Go dig into his past.
I want to ask you guys a question. Does it not appear to seem like Jimbo Fisher, he's having an anxiety attack and he's reading the words all too fast and he's fidgeting? He just doesn't look comfortable up there and he looks like somebody that's tweaking out on drugs. I'm not even trying to be funny, I'm being dead serious. Or maybe he's just so mad right now he can't even think about forming words, and we've all been there. And I do want to speak on that. I can't understand why he's mad, but at the same time, if you're not guilty, why are you mad? Normally when people only try to defend themselves, for example, if somebody gets caught cheating, they give off a million reasons why they didn't cheat. Somebody that gets questioned for an arrest, they try to defend themselves and they almost speak too much. That's what I see in Jimbo Fisher. Whereas if your girlfriend thinks you're cheating and you're not going to trip about it because you know you didn't. There's nothing to hide. Or whereas if you're getting questioned to get arrested, you're not going to make up these long excuses and try to hide stuff because you know you didn't do anything. Where I'm getting to with this, the more you defend yourself, the more you look guilty. And then he refers to him as God, throwing a little shade there. And then he says, go dig into his past. So now we got Jimbo Fisher, I guess, trying to blackmail Nick Saban. That's what it's coming off as. Apparently, he's trying to insinuate that he's got this dark past behind him. Hey, anything's possible. Nick Saban could be this terrible guy. I just don't think so. I've always thought he's done things by the book. What I really think is going on here is that Jimbo and Nick Saban, they just got some really bad blood. And more than likely, Nick Saban snaked over Jimbo somehow, I'm going to assume, 5, 10, 15, or 20 years ago.
My dad always told me this. When people show you who they are, believe them. He's showing you who he is.
Questions? To the left, Olin?
You know dang well Jimbo Fisher, he was planning to say that and end off the interview that way because he felt like he just felt like the man and he was going to get up, but somebody had to ask him a question. Later in this interview, he also was asked if he talked to Nick Saban, and he said that Nick Saban called him and he, quote unquote, didn't take the call, we're done. He's the greatest ever. When you have all the advantages, it's easy. Oh man. Is there really SEC football drama without Lane freaking Kiffin somehow finding his way into the mix of things? Lane Kiffin was asked about what he thought about Jimbo's statements, and he said he was speechless for the first time in my life. Am I the only one who's imagining, and I want you to picture this in your head, you got Lane Kiffin sitting on his couch with some popcorn, flipping through ESPN and watching all this. Oh man, I love Lane Kiffin. He's a national treasure. He's one of my favorite college football coaches just for how he acts on and off the field. I know that's kind of off topic, but am I the only one who just loves everything about Kiffin? He seems like such a cool dude to hang out with. You always see these recruits in the back of his cars taking cool pictures. He's always wearing brand new sneakers. He's the man. Speaking of other SEC schools, I happened to stumble across this tweet. Somebody said, Tennessee fans watching Nick Saban and Jimbo go at it about paying players while we're paying Nico, who's a quarterback, $8 million to come to Tennessee. And that's actually facts. I don't want to say I don't respect Jimbo Fisher because I somewhat do, but I'm not a fan of his. I don't know if Nick Saban was giving him swirlies and wedgies back in the day, but there's something going on. There is something carrying over from high school, college, or something that Nick Saban did to this man because Jimbo does not like him whatsoever. And here's why I like Nick Saban. He's grown and mature enough to realize, hey, I messed up, so he attempted to call Deion Sanders and Jimbo Fisher. It was stated in release that Saban and Deion, they have spoken like grown men, and they've settled everything. That's what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. We're all gonna mess up, but it's how you respond to it. Can you be mature enough to say, hey, I shouldn't have said that about Jackson State and Deion. I worded it wrong. Let me call my man. He called him up. They answered. They talked. And I'm sure they had a good conversation and laughed about it. But then on the other hand, you got Jimbo Fisher, who, if anything, he's the narcissist in my opinion. He feels like he's too good to take a phone call from Nick Saban now. As much as I think Nick Saban is in the wrong, at least he tried to fix stuff. Jimbo's being the one that's blowing it out of proportion. Seriously though, Nick Saban didn't say nothing crazy. A&M, you're paying for recruits. Everybody now with NIL is paying for recruits. He stated the obvious. He called the fat chick fat. Coach Saban responded to everything he said only a couple hours ago, and here's what he had to say. I should have been more specific when I said bought in saying you can buy players now through the name, image, and likeness, and never mention any specific school and just said across the sport. That's on me, but other than that, I don't have any regrets over what I said Wednesday. He also admitted that he knew he was going to be criticized for what he said. Then he also added, a lot of people are silent on this, and some of it has people lumping NIL in with using NIL to pay players to go to school. But you know, at this stage of my career, I'm not worried about what people think of me. I'm going to end this video off abruptly, but I'm going to leave you with this. That's my coach. Yeah, he messed up. I'll admit that, and he admitted that. But he owned up to his mistakes. Even the greatest of all time, they mess up and slip up here and there. For Jimbo Fisher saying the stuff he did, everything he said, I'm not going to say anything bad about the man, but I'm going to tell you this. We'll see you on October 8th. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not about talking about doing this, doing that. I'm more about actions. Jimbo Fisher, we'll see you on October 8th. I'm going to tell you right now, unless something happens, I will be streaming that game, so I hope you guys should come on by the channel. Yeah, that's all I got to say. Let me know your thoughts down below. But what up is up, peace.